Back in my day, we didn't have such luxuries like Galaxy's Edge, and we didn't get to fly the Millennium Falcon or build our own droids. No, but we did have Star Wars weekends, and you know what that means, don't you? Shake it like a Polaroid. Oh, to be young again. I aged really well.
The very first Star Wars Weekend Festival occurred February 21st to March 23rd, 1997, being the only time in the event's history to not occur in May or June. Many consider 1997 to really be the year Star Wars came back and never went away afterwards. By this point, The Phantom Menace was announced, and George Lucas was debuting the first of many special edition releases of Star Wars. It had also been 10 years since Star Tours debuted in Disneyland. There was a lot of buzz for Star Wars fans to latch on to, and a lot to celebrate. The first year kept itself pretty isolated to the Star Tours area, showcasing the change in the gift shop at the end of the ride. Before becoming Tatooine Traders that we know and love, the original shop was called Endor Vendors, and was themed around the Shield Bunker in Return of the Jedi. 97 saw a few special guests. Anthony Daniels, Kenny Baker, and Warwick Davis, who all did interviews and signings. And on top of them, loads of characters were around for meet and greets and to engage in all-around shenanigans. A big tradition they engaged in, which would later be expanded into one of the top events at the festival in the future, that's right, the dance party. Younglings could engage in the Jedi Training Academy, which is still a staple of the parks to this day. All fans can enjoy a pretty sweet arcade, and there was even a documentary displayed in what is now the Little Mermaid Theater about the making of Star Wars. Everyone loved it. It combined the two things fans loved most in a place where dreams come true: Star Wars and immersion into the Star Wars universe. The overall morale was as high as park attendance, and the Disney company was beginning to salivate at the thought of a continued future with Star Wars. Despite its success, Star Wars Weekends didn't return until 2000 after box office success of The Phantom Menace, and kicked off the tradition of Star Wars Weekends occurring in May or June. They continued doing interviews and autographs with the actors from the films, but this time had a wider array of guests. Hugh Kjarshi, who plays Captain Panaka in The Phantom Menace, Kenny Baker, concept artist Ian McCaig, Peter Mayhew, Jake Lloyd, aka Young Anakin, the body of Darth Vader, Dave Prowse, Boba Fett's actor from the original trilogy, Jeremy Bulloch, and of course, Carrie Fisher. A mini motorcade kicked off the day, which would bring the guests in as a float would in a parade before their interview, being led by all sorts of characters like Chewbacca, Boba Fett, and the Modal Nodes Band. Like in 97, guests were able to have photo op moments with characters like Han, Leia, Luke, Chewie, and Vader, but in an effort to integrate the new prequel trilogy, Darth Maul and Queen Amidala were added as possible characters to meet as well. Activities such as lightsaber training in the arcade, as well as the addition of a trivia contest, cantina party at night, and more behind-the-scenes footage as well as a sneak peek of Attack of the Clones. It was such a success that of course it returned in 2001 at hyperspeed levels of fun. Kenny Baker, Carrie Fisher, Peter Mayhew, Jeremy Bulloch, and Warwick Davis were all returning special guests. In addition, design director Doug Chiang, Mike Quinn, aka Nin Nump, Phil Brown, aka Uncle Owen, all made appearances as well. Like the previous year, 2001 saw an impressive increase in park capacity for that time of year, and fans showed no signs of growing bored with the same activities of the year before. It gave fans the chance to experience Disney in an entirely different way. It was pure, clean fun, and they couldn't wait to see what 2002 had to offer. Because after all, Attack of the Clones was coming out that year, and it had to be big. Nobody really has a definitive answer why Disney didn't host Star Wars Weekends in 2002, because they would have had a lot of success there. I mean, they had a lot to celebrate with Attack of the Clones coming out. Sure, it's one of the worst movies in the entire franchise, but... A day that takes us through the darkness. A day... Hey, I will get to you. I will get to you at Christmas time. You just wait. Sorry about that. Anyway, a lot of people speculated that the attacks on the Twin Towers in 2001 had a bit to do with this, given tourism dropped significantly in the United States during this dark time. In addition to that, the United States was actually in a recession in of itself, so people just couldn't afford to go to Disney World. But in 2003, Star Wars Weekends returned in a big way. jam-packed with guests, even more roaming characters like Tusken Raiders, Jango Fett, Zam Wesell, and more. Celebrity guests also came back in full force, ready to do interviews. The guest list included Anthony Daniels, Billy D. Williams, Andy Secombe, who played Watto, Warwick Davis, Silas Carson, aka Ki-Adi-Mundi, Mike Quinn, Peter Mayhew, Jeremy Bulloch, Temuera Morrison, who played Jango Fett, and Michonne Bourgeois, aka Aurra Sing. The behind-the-scenes footage had an extra film to tack onto their plate, with Attack of the Clones being the 5th installment. Expectedly, there was a greater emphasis on the prequel trilogy through the merchandise and specials and character appearances, but the oldies and goodies still hung around as well. At the time, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was a big attraction at MGM Studios, so they were full of Star Wars questions and Star Wars-related answers, of course, as well as Star Wars-related prizes. 2003 was big too because it meant that the first ever Star Wars breakfast would occur. Officially arranged through the Star Wars Fan Club and emceed by Mary Franklin, who was the editor of Bantha Tracks, and the special headlining guests were Peter Mayhew and Jeremy Bulloch. Over 135 could attend, and the special was sold out immediately. The park opened at 7 for the guests to ride Star Tours together and then head over to the Hollywood Brown Derby restaurant for breakfast. Attendees all received a crisp action figure of Chewbacca and Boba Fett, as well as an item signed by Mayhew and Bulloch. Of course, the events from previous years also continued. From this point on, Star Wars weekends were an annual staple at Disney parks and continued to grow with the fan base that attended, and each year seemed to bring something new to the experience. 2004 brought in the Disney characters cosplaying Star Wars, which included Mickey as Luke, Minnie as Leia.
Wouldn't it have made more sense if Mickey was Han Solo?
Goofy as Vader, Donald as a Stormtrooper, and a Mickey Mouse-themed astromech droid named R2-MK, who admittedly looked more like Darth Maul than Mickey, but still. 2005 brought the conclusion of Star Wars as we knew it with Revenge of the Sith hit in the theaters. The event spanned over 6 weeks as opposed to the traditional 4 or 5. It also introduced a segment called Legends. No, not that Legends, where fans got to go more in depth into the creative process in Star Wars, namely the prequel trilogy. I shouldn't be too jealous of the past, though, because I actually was at Star Wars Weekend in 2006 and 2007. Yeah, that's little 10-year-old me with a Leia headband they were selling. Iron-on t-shirt and all. The big additions of these years were the sheer amount of merchandise they started offering exclusively for the festival. 2007 also had a special edition of the Jedi Training Academy as Ray Park attended. It was called A Visit to the Mall. Since 2008 was revitalized yet again in the Star Wars verse with the application of Star Wars The Clone Wars, so many characters and segments were introduced, but the big one being Ahsoka Tano, who had character meet and greets as well as inclusion in the main events. 2008 was also the first year to introduce back the concept of a Star Wars dance party and make it a major event. Relabeled the Hyperspace Hoopla, this dance party between good and evil would become one of the most popular portions of the weekend and always promised some surprises. Warwick Davis acted as the celebrity host for this event, and I should also add that MGM was no more at this point and was instead branded as Hollywood Studios. 2009 was another big year for additions, especially with an animation focus. Ahsoka's voice actress Ashley Eckstein got her own live show called Behind the Force, where attendees got an inside look to the Clone Wars and how it is made, as well as the character arcs. James Arnold Taylor, who voices Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars, also got his own 30-minute segment called Obi-Wan and Beyond, where he demonstrates over 150 voices that he can do. 2010 introduced what is still a staple at Disney's Hollywood Studios today, if not modified and altered, but still, the source of Galactic Spectacular was the infamous Symphony in the Stars. It started as a tribute to Star Tours as it was being closed and revamped to what it is today. For more on that, I've already got a video for it. Anyway, they had a last trip to Endor special, and Star Wars Weekend 2010 heavily capitalized on this. The fireworks show was more focused on the actual fireworks and John Williams' score than it was the projections from the films, as the current Galactic Spectacular is. 2011 complemented 2010 quite nicely, as a tour de force in a way, because Star Tours The Adventures Continue was debuting in Walt Disney World just in time for the fun. So Star Wars Weekend focused very heavily on celebrating this. Over 60 characters roamed the park in costume, and James Arnold Taylor and Ashley Eckstein were the hosts for the event. The Hyperspace Hoopla was also relocated to take place just beneath the Sorcerer Hat as opposed to the Rebels stage. 2012 added a neat feature called the Carbon Freeze Me, where guests could have their faces scanned at the ABC Sound Studio and have a little replica of them in frozen carbonite like Han Solo. 2013 probably had the best hyperspace hoopla. I don't really think I need to explain why. 2014 sadly brought the end of the hyperspace hoopla, but it did feature an epic pre-works fire show that was hosted by James Arnold Taylor and involved countless characters of good and evil to the beautiful tunes of John Williams. The last and final Star Wars weekend was the culmination of everything it strove to be. It had character meals at Sci-Fi Dine-In and Hollywood and Vine so fans could eat breakfast alongside their favorite characters, a Stormtrooper comedy show, fan meet and greets, of course, the epic fireworks at night, Behind the Force, shopping, and obviously a buttload of characters from all across the galaxy.
What we have currently in the Disney parks is a very special experience, and Galaxy's Edge, I can tell, is going to be amazing and immersive. However, I do wish that they kind of brought back something of these Star Wars weekends. It really brought fans all together, and it wasn't a lot. It was just a bunch of characters, and it even got the chance for the cast to get involved as well, big or smaller name Star Wars characters. And I think that with these special ticketed events they have, they could really step up their game, especially in comparison to what they had in Star Wars Weekend. Well, the next time you see me, I am going to be a changed woman because I will have seen Galaxy's Edge. May the Force be with you, and you guys have a great day.